Well, the Cleveland Browns had some life for the first time in what feels like ages, but as we've learned time and time again, in Cleveland, miracles cannot last forever. The Cleveland Browns finally had some hope to enter the 2023 NFL season, with this being their first full season to be set under star quarterback Deshaun Watson, or former star quarterback Deshaun Watson, and things were looking solid for this team in Week 1 with a dominating win over the Bengals, but disaster struck in Week 2. In that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Browns lost their star running back in Nick Chubb due to a season-ending brutal knee injury. I mean, it was awful. We saw it live. It was ugly. And they ended up losing this game, but they won in Week 3 against the Titans and then fell to the Ravens the following week to sit at 2-2 at this point. Although it was around this time, the Browns had a carousel of quarterbacks with Deshaun Watson going down with an injury, I believe it was a shoulder injury, and being on and off with the injury. The Browns had to turn to quarterbacks Dorian Thompson-Robinson and P.J. Walker. And they turned to him for about 2 months during October and November, where the Browns went an impressive 5-2 with big wins over the 49ers, Colts, Cardinals, Ravens, and Steelers. But the final nail in the coffin on these two quarterbacks was when the quarterback play cost them the game versus the Denver Broncos. So at this point, at 7-4 and kind of looking at a playoff spot, they were well in the race at this point. They had to take a chance on an old veteran and hope he was not washed. This old veteran was thought to be a washed old guy who wouldn't do much, but Joe Flacco came out guns a-blazing and looked incredible against the Rams. They did lose that game, but Flacco looked damn good for being on the couch just 2 weeks prior. And he went on to finish off the season absolutely incredibly, taking that loss to the Rams, but then winning off 4 straight against the Jaguars, Bears, Texans, and Jets to clinch a playoff spot, leading to them resting their starters in Week 18, losing that game, but it was an inconsequential game. After the regular season, the Browns looked to head to a much-anticipated rematch versus the Houston Texans in Houston once again. Keep in mind, they had just played there a few weeks prior, and it was set to be a fun game between the next great quarterback against a team with a pretty good defense and a damn good quarterback themselves, the way Flacco was playing. And it was the case that it was a very close back-and-forth game in the first half between these two teams. But in the second half, Joe Flacco's pumpkin hour came, throwing 2 interceptions and absolutely hampering the Browns' chances of moving on. They closed that out with 3 3-and-outs or 3 turnover on downs, I should say, not necessarily 3-and-outs. But they just struggled. That Texans defense made stands, so even though the Browns defense was being productive in that second half, there's not much you can do when your quarterback throws 2 pick sixes in one half in a close playoff game to basically set you on a track to lose this game. So, where do the Browns go from here? It's tough to say. They need desperately to get out of that Deshaun Watson contract, as he has not been playing to his $200+ million deal. But cutting him leaves a massive dead cap hit for the Browns, and they kind of put themselves in the situation. It's tough to feel bad, or not feel bad for a team that's had so much pain and misery, but I can't really feel bad for this team because they put themselves in this big situation by going all in on Deshaun Watson, and it's not paying out. Just like in Vegas, you go to Vegas, put $100 in a hand of blackjack, you lose, oh well, it's your fault.